Now, you were there from the first moments and creation of the Beatles. I can't imagine any of you ever dreamed that it would be as big as it was, taking the world by storm, literally. How was it for you, though, being a wife and a mother? Did you wish inside, in your private moments, that it wasn't so big, so that you could have spent more time with John?
I'd had quite a few years with John as a student, and that was, 24 hours a day, basically, when we could. But I think when they became famous, it was like being in the eye of the storm, truly. I mean, we moved to this mansion, and I had great responsibilities with gardeners, with housekeepers, with all the things that I'd never, at the age of 23, never ever experienced before. I had no idea. So really my task and what was happening to me was looking after Julian primarily, most important thing, and then running TCB, taking care of business, answering all the fan mail, doing all that sort of thing. So my time was taken up with a great deal, but also it was fantastic because they were worldwide success. It was so exciting. It was wonderful. And when he came home, it was the best. When he was away, it was good because you knew that he was happy and he was making a lot of money. And as long as he was happy, that was all that mattered, to be perfectly honest.
Did you ever consider at that point that he could have played away from you, or that he could be up to no good?
Do you know, I was so naive. And I prefer to stay naive, actually. What you don't know, you don't worry about. But obviously now, in later years, you read about what he got up to. I mean, he would never admit that, but they were all at it. They were all up to it, and they still are.
Would you like to tell us more about that?
No. I'm just no. I'm on that note, I'm saying no more.
All right, we'll move on. But it really didn't occur to you at the time that he would have even dreamed of going with anyone else?
Nope. Not at all, no.
That's amazing. And when he came back to you, those times were just exciting and you were just thrilled to see him because the big star was back?
Well, my husband was back, and the father of my son was back, and he was happy to be home because he wasn't in a hotel room with groupies and having fun.
You've got to be careful with those groupies, haven't you?
It was a naive period, I mean, they were the first big group to make it, so it hadn't happened before on that level. So how would you know about it unless it had been going on beforehand?
Do you have one memory from the Beatles that stands out beyond all the rest?
Well, I think the most incredible experience was when they did Shea Stadium for the first time. I mean, that was unbelievable. You couldn't hear them, you could see them. I mean, the atmosphere in that place was just electric, tingling. I mean, you'd look at your husband and the boys, little boys who used to go to school next door to college, and Ringo, I mean, just to see them in that setting and be there and be part of it was just brain-blowing.
Where's the line between tingling, amazing and terrifying? Because I know you write in the book that you went to one concert and you had to be taken out because everybody used to push forward, and the fans were just so fanatical, literally. Did it become scary at times?
Well, I was only on that one occasion. I only went to America on that one occasion. The rest of the time, none of us went. The girls, the wives, the children, whatever. But yes, obviously. But it was too exciting to be frightened. I mean, I was saved. I was dragged by a policeman and carried over and shoved into the car, but I was saved. If I hadn't been out, probably wouldn't be talking to you now. It could be very, very dangerous, yeah.
Do you think it was deliberate that you only went on tour with them once to America?
I think it was made a lot of sense, actually, because it was no fun, really, because you were in one hotel room. It was lunacy, total lunacy. It was guys like you doing interviews, models walking in and out, demand, security men outside, mad fans trying to climb up drain pipes and getting in the lift. I mean, it was total lunacy. So it wasn't a place for anybody other than them and Brian to be, because it was work.
One thing I want to talk about before we go is your opinion now of Yoko Ono. I think in most people's perceptions, they probably remember more about Yoko than they do about you, which is odd because you were there for longer, and of course you were there during his rise to fame. How do you personally view Yoko Ono now?
Well, I think because Yoko is a conceptual artist, she's an exhibitionist, and I'm not. That's probably why. It's like a story. I mean, their love story was highly promoted. Our love story was very, very low key in terms of press, because in the early days, I was not supposed to be married. John was not supposed to be married. He was not supposed to be a father. So going through that was quite normal for us. But with John and Yoko, it was worldwide and demanding attention. That's the difference.
Why did he leave you?
Well, he's not here to tell you.
Did you know it was coming?
I knew that we were both walking a different path. We'd come to a crossroads that he wanted to go one way and I wanted to go the other way. Not that I had much choice, because he was taking a lot of drugs. He'd stopped working. They were working in the studio. John always had itchy feet. He always wanted to do something new. He was, through taking acid, LSD, I think his vision of the future and his vision of himself did not include what he had, which was us. It was from stopping being world famous on the stage with the Beatles, they stopped. Brian died, they stopped. And he was in a space that he didn't know what kind of space it was, because he hadn't been in that space very often, because he'd been working for 6 years like the rest of them. All of a sudden there was nothing, and it's all down to luck and timing who walked into that space at the time.
When I read about his drug addiction, one thing I didn't like was how he pressured you to try LSD. You write in the book how you didn't want to do it and he slipped it in a drink, or somebody did. That's not nice, is it, really? Was that the first signs that you thought this was out of control?
Well, it was nightmarish for me, the whole thing. I did as much as I could to be on the same wavelength, because that's what you do if you're married and you know that things are, everything's changing slightly, but you don't know which way it's going. So I thought, well, I'll try and see what all this is all about, and see how it affects me. And for me, it was absolute nightmare. And for an awful lot of other people, it's very, very dangerous. I know that. And I could easily have jumped out of a window under the influence of LSD. But at the time, of course, it was put to me as that we're all friends here and we're going to look after you and everything else. But if you're under the influence of something that you can't control, nobody can look after you, especially if they're all taking the same thing at the same time. So for me, it was definitely out.
At the beginning, I said that I felt, having read this book, that John Lennon was flawed in many ways. The drugs, he needed an extreme. And I think the same with Yoko Ono. Was he just looking for another thrill?
I think he was trying to find himself what he called a soulmate, someone who had as mad ideas as he had. I think he felt that she had the talent, but that's debatable. Because he was the one with the talent and always will be. But he needed that. He didn't need a mumsy partner at that point. He needed a mate. And I think he actually said at some stage in an interview that, she's the nearest thing to a man, a mate man, that he's ever had in a woman.
What are your thoughts about her now? I mean, she's written so much, she's said so much, and done so many interviews about John. Do you think she's taken away from his life, or do you think she's added to it?
That's a difficult question. And that should be put open to the audience rather than to me. I just feel that she has taken over an awful lot of stuff that should be spread around. No one person should own another person's talent. It should be given to the world.
You've remarried now and you're happy, and you've got Julian. Are you happy? I mean, is everything okay with you? How do you feel about everything so many years on, 20 years after John died?
I'm still learning. Life is a lesson and the answer's at the end. And I'm open to all kinds of experiences, and that's what life's all about. I'm very happy at the moment.
Cynthia, thank you so much for spending the time to talk to us today. It's been riveting and fascinating. I think we're all curious to find out about his life, because he really is the most famous person in the world ever, really. And for you to spend so many years with him, being a part of his life, is such a thrill. No matter who tries to take it away, you'll never lose that.
I think I've been privileged in one way. It's been an experience that nobody else can possibly compare with it, and it's been very special.
I suppose with every high there's a low, isn't there?
Well, ups and downs every day. You never know what's around the corner, do you?
Cynthia Lennon, thank you very much for talking to us.
You're very welcome.